I knew right then that that soul was the entity we knew as Jesus. And he said, "You must tell them there is no death." Ask me, why would we do that? Why would we leave the perfect place of the other side and come to here on earth where things are not perfect? And the number one reason is because we all have free will. All the major events of our lives are planned for,
Right.
but everything else is changeable. And people have always been so afraid of dying that they're afraid what's going to happen. And there's nothing to fear. And 3 days after he passed, I had a dream about him.
Time. If the consequences or repercussions of the actions that you have taken cannot be experienced, then you have to keep coming back in that cycle and keep experiencing different lifetimes. So what was your experience, and what were you told by your spirit guide about that? Is it mandatory to come back to experience, or is it like our choice that Hi, this is Akanksshaa. If you're new here, please subscribe to my channel. If you resonate with me, please like, comment, and share. Welcome to Multidimensional Soul Podcast and a Talk Show. We have with us today John J. Davis, who's had the most detailed and incredible NDE, and he now serves everyone with that experience. So, a very warm welcome, John, on Multidimensional Soul Podcast and Talk Show. It's an honor to have you here.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so delighted to be here. I always love to share my experience. So thank you so much for inviting me on.
This is part 2 of a 2-part conversation. If you have not watched part 1, then we highly recommend that you watch that. The link for that is provided in the video description.
So the very last part of my NDE was my guide takes me to a meadow, and it was the most beautiful meadow I've ever seen. Tall grass and wildflowers and beautiful rolling hills. It was a perfect day. The sun was out. And then he left. And I thought that I was standing there by myself. So I turned around to look at the meadow, and there was a gentleman standing in front of me. And I could see him. He had a white robe on with a golden sash or a golden belt, and he had golden sandals that laced up his calves. And I knew right then that that soul was the entity we knew as Jesus. And he didn't tell me that. I just knew that, oh my gosh, this is the person that we knew as Jesus on earth. And he was different. When I looked at his face, there was so much light coming out of him, I could not make out his features. But he spoke to me and he said, "You must tell them there is no death." In the very second he said that, boom, I was right back in the operating room. So he told me, "You must tell them there is no death." And I didn't have a chance to ask him any questions. I woke back up in the operating room. And that's how my story ended. And ever since then, I have always tried to share my story with anybody who would listen, because it has always given me so much hope to know that when we pass from this life, it's not the end. It's nowhere near the end, because the soul never dies. And I just love to share my story. And every time I get an opportunity, I always love to share it.
Incredible. It's so incredible that you actually remember each little detail of even the persons and the places So,
Yeah,
and you were gone for 7 minutes, but it feels like eternal time. I mean, you've spent
absolutely.
so much of time over there.
And what's so interesting too is usually I have a really bad memory. Like I couldn't even tell you what I had for dinner last night, but I remember every single detail, and I think that's what that was the gift that I was given by God.
Yeah.
It's just that I was supposed to remember everything so that I could share with anybody who would listen. And that's what I've done ever since then is just try to share it to anybody who will listen to me.
Yeah, beautiful. So when you were with your spirit guides and you visited the place where they plan for the lifetime, like you would call that as a soul blueprint, where they plan certain milestones and all that.
Yeah.
So did they tell you that how do we decide which planet to go on? What kind of experiences should we have? And can we change it after we come here? If it becomes too hard.
I, I don't know how we choose the planets. They never told me.
Okay.
I think you probably would choose where you think you might learn the most. And what they did tell me was that here on Earth, Earth is one of the hardest planets to come to because it is so there's so many things that happen here that are truly horrible. There's just a lot of dark things that happen here. And people come here knowing that they're going to have a hard lifetime. And the reason is that on the other side, there is nothing that a person works through. There's no conflict. The other side doesn't have war or disease or homelessness or poverty. There's nothing like that. So it's not like we can have the same kind of experiential learning that we have when we come here. On the other side, everybody still likes to learn. People love to learn new things. But when you come to the earth, you actually learn by going through the tough times. And that's something that people have always asked me, why would we do that? Why would we leave the perfect place of the other side and come to here on earth where things are not perfect? And the number one reason is because we want to learn and to develop. And we learn most when we go through something hard. And there's two things I think, there's two reasons why we come here. The first one is we're all wanting to learn and to grow and to develop. And the second reason is to help others. And I always think of a quote. One of my favorite quotes is from the Dalai Lama. And he said, our prime purpose in this life is to help others. And if you can't help them, at least don't hurt them. And I've always tried to live my life that way because it seems like that's what it's like for the other side, that's what God would want us to live our lives like the Buddha or Mohammed or Jesus. Live a life where you are helping others as much as you can.
And did they tell you that can we change anything in the blueprint after we come here, or
You know, what I do know is that God gave all of us free will. We all have free will. I do know that the major events that we plan for, like who our parents are going to be, what languages are we going to learn, are we going to have children, all the major events of our lives are planned for.
right?
But everything else is changeable. Like we don't plan things like on such and such a day I'm going to go have dinner with friends.
Right.
It's not that kind of detail. The kind of detail is just like what we would do when we like like at the end of every year, like your New Year's resolutions. It's that kind of detail,
Yeah,
but
the
it's more like a
mileposts. The mileposts.
yes, exactly,
Right.
exactly like that. Yep.
Right. Like you saw Jesus and you saw some souls. Do you think that, and did they tell you about this, that the experience that you get on the other side is based on your belief system? Like, for example, I am raised a Hindu, or
Yeah.
somebody else is, because you were raised a Christian. and
Yes.
you experienced talking to Jesus. But what about people who are from other religions? So is it based
I
on atheist? Like, is it based on our the belief system, or it's the same?
I think people see who they expect to see. Like I think Buddhists, they might see Buddha.
Okay.
I think you're right because I had always thought that Jesus was on the other side. He was in heaven.
Hmm.
And I think that's why I probably saw him because that's what I expected. I think for you or anybody else, you would see who you expect. And
Okay.
I because one thing I learned when I was standing there in front of this being was that there is no one right religion. The feeling that I got was they don't care what religion somebody follows
Yeah.
as long as it gets them closer to God.
True.
That's all they care about.
Yeah. So
I didn't
true.
see yeah, I didn't when I was over there, I didn't see that here's where the Catholics are, here's where the Buddhists are, here's
Hmm.
where the Hindus are. None it wasn't like that. It was more like this spirituality of
Yeah.
compassion and love and kindness, and it was very different than what I was always led to believe through
Right.
religion.
Right. So you talked about your spirit guide, Alan. Are you still
Yeah.
connected with him now?
You
Does
know,
he guide you?
I talk to him all the time, but I can't hear him anymore.
Okay.
I every especially I always talk to them when I'm driving, but
Okay.
I can't hear him anymore. And I wish I could because I have so many questions I would still love to ask.
Yeah.
But I always talk to them. And something that's interesting that I learned is people that we have lost, they can hear us when we
Yes.
talk to them.
Yes.
Now, what I don't know is I know they can hear us if we talk out loud, like we're talking. I don't know if they can hear us like when we pray. That's something I wish I would have asked. I don't know if they can or not. I think they probably can. I just don't know for sure.
Okay. Yeah, they can. I mean, from my experience, I can say that because as
Oh,
I have
that's
mentioned,
wonderful.
yeah,
Wonderful.
that my son is always connected with me. He's here. So, yeah,
What's his name?
I don't know.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, Arano means ocean. So it's like ocean of
Oh,
consciousness. Yeah.
that's wonderful.
Yeah. You mentioned about seeing the book of your soulmate, Nina. So have
Mhm.
you met her in physical world? And
I don't I don't know.
no? Okay.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay.
And that's one thing I would have liked to have asked is, does the soulmate come with you into your lifetime?
Yeah.
And I know that they can. I just don't know if it happens very often. And I think the reason is that one of the things that we learn the most from is through relationships.
Right.
And I think if we all had our perfect mates here on earth, we may not learn that much while we're
Mm.
here. So I just don't know. I know that they could if they wanted to.
Uh-huh.
I just don't know if we plan that very often. But I do know that people on earth, they tend to think of themselves as failures if they haven't found their perfect mate.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is that they don't see it like that. They don't see it like we do. A lot
Hmm.
of people don't plan to have a perfect mate when they come here because there's so many different reasons that people come here. But your perfect mate is always on the other side. And people think, well, why can't I have that person here? And it's only because you may not have planned for that. And that's okay. And here's something that I learned that was really fascinating. On the other side, they don't see time the way we do. It's different for them. And what that means is that when you're planning a lifetime, you might be gone for 3 or 4 months in terms of their time. But when we're here, it feels like 70, 80, or 90 years that we live a lifetime. But time doesn't exist for them like it does for us. So that when people pass, they still grieve for us because they miss us, but it's different for them. They know that we're going to be back in just a short period of time. So we're the ones that have the hardest time when people pass. And I thought that something that I'd like to tell people is that the happiest day of our lives are our last days, because that's when we get to go back home again. And people have always been so afraid of dying that they're afraid what's going to happen. And there's nothing to fear. That's when we're going home. And it should be the most, just the happiest moment. And something too that I learned is on that chart in that building, we actually chart how we're going to pass and when, because everybody has a different reason for being here. Not everybody wants to come here to live until they're 90. Some people pass when they're 10. Some people pass when they're 30. It's totally up to the individual soul of what they want to experience. And I thought that was just extraordinary too. And one of the best parts about my NDE is that I don't have a fear of dying anymore. I actually can't wait to go back.
Yeah, so true. I think that's the most important thing from today's session. If people were to take, is that there is no such thing as death.
Exactly.
The soul is eternal, and our loved ones who cross over, they are doing well. I mean, they are happy, and they want
Yep.
us to be happy.
Exactly. They want us to finish our lives. They want us
Yeah.
to finish what we came here for.
Correct.
Yeah.
When you talked about your soulmate, and I'm going to go back to that. So,
Sure.
is there only one soulmate, or is we can have more than one? And is it for eternal? Like when they showed you that she is your soulmate, is it forever, for eternity, or for some time? Because time behaves differently, as you said, that there is
Yeah.
no such
Yeah.
thing as time actually when you go beyond the space and time. So,
Exactly.
how does it
Exactly.
work for soulmates then?
How I understand it is that that person was created to be your soulmate at the same time all of us were created. All of us have soulmates, but it's totally up to those individual souls. They are perfect. They're like a perfect match. But if they don't want to be soulmates, they don't have to be. It's totally up to them. It's just that if you want to have that person, that special person, you have them. They're your soulmate. And I don't know if we have more than one. I It was kind of like being married, that is your spouse, kind of like. But it's not where it's written in stone that there's no options, because it's totally up to the individual. But I think that when you're over on the other side, you just feel like that is the person you're supposed to be with, that person was created with you, that's and it's for eternity. But it doesn't, it's always up to the individual soul. Everybody has choice, and I think that comes down to God gave us all free will,
Right.
and God wants all of us to love him, but he doesn't make us. He's given us all free will, and that's where the whole idea of darkness comes from. Is God certainly knows about evil, but he never created it. Individual souls choose what path they want to follow. Do they want to follow the path of light, or do they want to follow the path of darkness? But God gives everybody as many chances as they need to learn. So there's no punishment, there's no dying, there's no being sent to hell for eternity.
Right.
And that's something that I was really amazed to learn about.
What happens to people who follow the path of darkness or who get lost? As in, they may not, because we have veil and we have amnesia, we don't remember from where we came from. And
Yep.
so, what happens to people who are misguided here or they fall into the trap of darkness? What happens? Do they also go there?
Yeah. From what I was told, everybody goes to the other side
Hmm.
unless they don't want to. Because the soul has the choice. But what happens is, and this is what they explained to me, the people that have chosen a path of darkness for whatever reason, they don't always know how their actions affect others.
Mm.
That's why they have to go through the life review. It was explained to me that nobody has the option of not having a life review.
Okay.
It's almost like, if you're going to have a life, part of the agreement is that when you come back, you have to review that life to see how you did. So nobody has the option of skipping the life review, because that's how the soul learns. And the souls that have committed crimes or have charted a path of darkness, many times they haven't had that much lifetime experience yet, because having a lifetime is totally up to each and every one of us. Some people want to learn quicker. Other people don't want to learn that quickly, and they don't have as many lifetimes. But the soul learns every lifetime. They learn more and more, and they develop. And that's the main reason I was told for the life review, because that is how they determine how their actions affected others.
Yeah. So, is there any healing, or did you see any healing or any such thing taking place there for the souls?
They have, yeah, they have what are called healing centers, and mostly they're for people that committed suicide, who are lost, or who are really confused, or they got off track somehow. And they have these centers mostly for suicides, but it's for anybody who has had a lot of trauma. And these healing centers are there to help that soul remember who they are, to help them heal and to become everything God created them to be, to help them get rid of all the negativity, all the hurt, all the pain. And that was nice for me to know, because I lost one of my cousins to suicide, and one of my best friends died from suicide. And I was just so relieved to know that nothing happens to them, that they are loved and cared for and cherished until they are made well again. And that's kind of how it was explained to me.
You have had so many incredible experiences. You also went to Akashic Records, or the library, you said, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, did they show you like different dimensions and realms in that, or how was it? Like,
No,
how was your experience? Did you read any books actually over there?
no, I don't think there was enough time. Everything was happening so quickly.
Yeah.
I never really had a time or had a chance to process it until the whole experience was over. It just was happening so quickly. But there were so many things I wish I could have read. I would have loved to have read my chart to
Yeah.
see what I had planned. I would have loved to have read that, or had some time to read about Nina and about other people's soulmates, and look at my book and see
Right.
what's in my book. And because we all have these books that have all of our lifetimes in there, and the things that we were created with, because we were all created with gifts. We all have unique gifts, and those are all written down in these books. So there are so many things that I wish I could have done, and reading other things would have been top of the list for me. But there just wasn't enough time.
Right. But as you're connected with your spirit guide, you must be having conversations with him about the gifts that you have here and all that.
I hope so, because I talk his ear off all the time. I'm always talking to my guide Alan, and I wish I could hear him. And I always him ask him stupid things. I ask him, said, "Can you go talk to my mom and dad and just tell them that I can't wait to see him again? Tell them I love them. Hope that they're happy. Hope that they love the lives that they lived, that they learned what they came here to learn, and I can't wait to see him again." I'm always asking him stuff like that, and I'm always asking him to help make me a better husband, make me a better dad, make me a better friend, try to help me just become better. So I'm always talking to him, even though I can't hear him. I talk to him a lot. And I had something that was really interesting happen. The only thing that ever happened to me that you would say was a paranormal experience, other than my NDE, was when my father-in-law died, when he passed. His name was Jack, and he passed about 10 years ago. And 3 days after he passed, I had a dream about him. And usually I don't remember my dreams because my memory is really bad. But I remember that dream. He came to me and he said, "We're all going to be together again. There are no accidents." And he said, "Give it everything you've got." And then he said, "Please tell my family I'm okay." And when I had that dream, I woke up and I wrote everything down that he told me so I could remember exactly what he said. But the one thing I took away was when he said, "Give it everything you've got," meaning your lifetime. Give it everything you have, all of your energy, all of your passion. Make your life stand out. Learn what you came here to learn. Give it everything you've got. And that was the only thing I've ever had other than my NDE.
Oh, okay. You learned so much on the other side and came back. How is it helping you in the day to day life? If you were to give something to our audience, that this is something that is helping you in your day to day life, any
Sure, sure,
practices or anything?
sure. The biggest takeaway that I had was number one, that death is not to be feared, that we never came here to have this be our eternal home. God created a place for us, whether you want to call it heaven or the afterlife, the other side. That's our home for eternity. We always have that available to us. And the part about not to be afraid of dying, not to be afraid of death, because on our last day, that will be our happiest because we're going home again. Earth was never meant to be permanent. That's not how God set it up. It's all these different planets, all these different lifetimes that we can have. They're all temporary. But on the other side, that's our permanent home. And one thing I would tell your audience also is that I learned they know, the other side knows that all of us go through dark times. They know that we all have those moments where we lose somebody or something happens and we face our own Mount Everest. We have this huge obstacle to overcome. The one thing that I learned is that we all have so many people that are rooting for us. You would be shocked to know how many people we actually have who are saying, "You can do it. You can get through this. You can become more. You can take your experience and use it to help other people." There are so many who want us to succeed. And success here doesn't mean how much money you have or what kind of car you have or how big your house is. Success means, did you accomplish what you came here to accomplish? And did you help other people along the way? That seems to be what mostly is what the other side is concerned about. Did you help other people? That's the most important lesson I think that I learned.
You talked about life review across different lifetimes, and you get to experience what the others are experiencing. And if you've hurt others, then you kind of feel that. So we have this theory of karma, wherein if in one lifetime, if the consequences or repercussions of the actions that you have taken cannot be uh, experienced, then you have to keep coming back in that cycle and keep experiencing different lifetimes. So what was your experience, and what were you told by your spirit guide about that? Is it
I
mandatory to come back to experience, or is it like our choice that I want to experience? I have felt the suffering. Maybe I don't know whether you feel the same way, the suffering that you feel here, because here the feelings are very intense and you feel everything real. So, what is your experience about this karma and suffering?
Here's what they told me about that. I don't know. All I know for sure is that the life review is the greatest teacher of the soul. That's all they told me. But I have read, and this is probably, you've probably read this too, that if the soul doesn't learn from the life review, then they have to come back to experience what they did to others. Now, I don't know if that's true. I do know that on the other side, nobody forces us to come back. They don't say, okay, you screwed this up, you made a mistake here, you have to go back and fix it. I thought that was the case with suicides, but it's not. Anybody who crosses over, if they want to come back again and try to make amends or learn from the things that they did, they can, but that nobody forces them to. That's what I learned.
Okay, amazing. Okay, I have a few questions which I ask all my guests
Okay,
towards the end. Can I ask you those?
sure.
If you were to explain multidimensional soul to anybody, how would you explain?
I don't even know. I have heard that term before,
Okay,
but I don't really know what it means.
okay.
I know that on the other side, well, let me back up. When we come into an earth life, I know that we don't remember where we're from, and we also don't remember any of the past lifetimes that we had or what we learned. But I do know that on the other side, when we finish our lifetime and we go back home again, because that's what they think of it as being home, we have all of our memories back,
Yeah.
all of our memories from all our other lifetimes, all the things that we learned, all the people that was in our lifetimes, all the relationships we had. We have all that memory back again. And it's like here on earth, we don't have that kind of capacity that the soul does on the other side. So when we're here, when we're here on earth, it feels like you're in a battle and you're in a foxhole without a radio. You
Mm.
feel cut off. That's what it feels like when we're all here because we don't remember where we're from. But I don't know if there are different dimensions.
Mm.
That I don't know. I wasn't told anything about that.
Okay. What is holistic well being according to you?
Holistic well-being to me I think means living with compassion and living with wanting to have this feeling of wanting to help people, to make your life count for something, not just for yourself, but that you were helping other people. And when I think of holistically, I think that every one of us goes through the dark night of the soul.
Mm.
And I think that if you can take that pain and help other people who are going through that, that is one of the most important things that we can do to lift up humanity.
Yeah.
Because this planet still is evolving. We're all still evolving here. There are other worlds that are far more evolved than this one, and there are others that are less evolved. And I think one of the things that we're here for is to help as many people as we can along the way and to take the pain that we experience and help others who are also going through that to help them.
What is the ultimate purpose of life?
I think there's two reasons. And when I think of life, I think of coming into a lifetime on a planet instead of being on the other side. Because on the other side, there is no pain. There's no trauma or hurt or nothing negative over there. I think the ultimate purpose of life is twofold: to come here and to experience the types of lessons that we chose to learn before we came in when we write that scroll out. The scrolls really we put down, it's kind of like a blueprint. What do you want to accomplish? What kind of experiences do you want to have? What do you want to go through? Like you put down, am I going to lose a child? When am I going to lose my parents? Am I going to experience what it's like to have to go to war or some all these things that happen? So that's the first thing is to come and to learn. And I think the second one is to try to help as many people as you possibly can, because we're all going to go through that dark night of the soul, and everybody goes through it. It's almost like nobody gets out of here without scars. We all have scars, and to help other people along the way, I think is probably the most noble thing that any soul can ever do. And I think that's what all the great leaders, all the great teachers tried to do, was to help people, give them strength, to help give them faith, to never give up, and to know that there is so much more than what we're told when we're here. There is so much more in that religion doesn't have all the answers.
So true. Yeah. If you were to change anything about today's educational system, what would that be?
I think it would be just acceptance, to accept people as they are, and to know that I guess that would probably the biggest thing I would want to teach is that it's not acceptable to judge people if they're different than you.
Yeah.
If it's if their skin is a different color,
Mhm.
if they were raised with a different religion, that to accept people, for everybody, for who they are. I'm a firm believer in Martin Luther King's dream that people would be able to live together regardless of what their skin color is.
Yeah.
I think if I could change one thing about the educational system, it would be that we're all the same. It doesn't matter what we look like. We all experience the same things. We all have the same dreams and the joys and the passions, and we all have the same hurts and the things that make us cry when we lose people. And just to be accepting of everybody for how they are. That would be my big thing that I could change.
Okay. What is love?
I think love is kind of what God feels for all of us. It's unconditional love. And I always think of like animals. I've always had animals all the way through my life. Dogs, cats, horses, everything. And I think love is that kind of unconditional love that we get from our pets.
Yeah.
And I was reading something recently, and they were talking about, if you want to get along with people better, do what your dog does. When your dog sees you, your dog is always excited to see you. Always be excited to see other people.
Yeah.
And that's I think what love is.
What is self-love?
I think self-love is having compassion for yourself and knowing that there are going to be hard things you go through, and to not take yourself so seriously, and to just know that you're going to have tough times, and
Mm.
we're all here to just do our best, to do the best that we can with what we have, and not take ourselves so seriously, and not put so much pressure on ourselves that we have to be a certain way, or we have to make a certain amount of money, or we have to have a certain car, but just to have self-love and to accept yourself as you are. Because we're all here in different areas of our lives. We're all in different the process of learning. We're all in different stages. And just to accept where we are, and to accept other people for who they are, regardless of what they look like.
What's your parting message for our audience?
I think if I could say one thing, it would be to never give up.
Mm.
To never give up fighting, because that's why we're here, to see what we can become through our lifetime. To never give up, to know that the other side is there, that God is real, our loved ones never really die. They're just in a different place. And when our lifetime is finished, we're all going to be reunited again. That would be my number one message.
Okay. And how can people connect with you?
They can send me an email or go to my website. My email is johnjdavis65 at icloud.com. And they can also go to my website at johnjdavisnde.com. And if any of your audience wants to reach out to me, I write back to everybody. If they have questions or if they want to talk, I'm more than happy to talk with anybody.
Amazing. We'll give all the details in the video description. It's been absolutely lovely having you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I had a great time. Great questions.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you for tuning in from wherever you are in the world. As Ramdas says, that we are just walking each other home. So thank you for co-creating the new earth along with me and my guests. If you resonate with me, subscribe to my channel, like, comment, and share. Let's keep this beautiful energy in flow, in motion. Namaste. Lots of love.